Rebecca Johnson pushed open the door of Master Kim's Martial Arts Academy, her worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. At 38, she wore no makeup, her dark curls streaked with silver pulled into a simple ponytail. A faded t-shirt and old sweatpants made her blend into the crowd of parents waiting for their children. She was here to pick up her 16-year-old daughter Maya, who trained passionately in martial arts. Watching Maya's dedication always brought a smile to Rebecca's face, but today something else caught her attention. Tyler Griffin, a black belt instructor, stood across the hall guiding advanced students. Tall and muscular in his pristine white gi, he radiated authority and pride. But Rebecca noticed the impatience in his eyes when he looked at students of color. "Kick higher, Jackson. Am I running a preschool here?" Tyler barked at a young black boy, his tone mocking. The child's face flushed with shame as embarrassed laughs rippled through nearby students. Rebecca frowned. She'd witnessed Tyler's subtle bias before, especially toward her own daughter. He never spoke overtly racist words, but his tone and treatment left no doubt about his prejudices. "Coach Griffin is tough, but his students earn their belts faster," one parent whispered nearby. "Maybe so, but my kid says he always gets singled out compared to the white students," another replied quietly. Rebecca's heart tightened. Maya never complained, but she knew her daughter had endured similar treatment many times. Days later, Rebecca arrived early to observe Maya's class from a discreet corner seat. She wanted to understand what was really happening. What she witnessed confirmed her worst fears. Tyler's favoritism was blatant. He harshly criticized Jackson for a kick while praising Evan, a white student attempting the same move with far less skill. "It's okay, Evan. Take your time," Tyler said gently, then turned to Maya. "Enough, Maya. You expect to test for your green belt with moves like that?" Maya's face fell, disappointment replacing her usual enthusiasm. Rebecca's hands clenched beneath her jacket as she watched her daughter's spirit dim. At the next practice, Tyler announced something unusual. "Today, I want to demonstrate the clear difference between a professional martial artist like me and the amateurs out there." His calculating gaze settled on Rebecca. "Miss Johnson, Maya's mother, always so devoted to bringing her daughter here. But I'm guessing she's never thrown a punch in her life, right?" Students snickered. Maya's face flushed with embarrassment. "Mom, please," she whispered, gripping Rebecca's sleeve. Tyler stepped closer, his voice dripping with mockery. "Don't worry, Maya, I'll go easy on your mother. I'll show everyone why martial arts isn't for just anyone, especially people like her." Rebecca's eyes narrowed at the prejudice in his words. After a moment, she took a deep breath and met his gaze. "All right, if you want to prove something, I won't back down. But I have one condition." Tyler raised an eyebrow, amused. "A condition? What could someone like you possibly propose?" "If you win, I'll admit I know nothing about martial arts," Rebecca said clearly. "But if you lose, you must apologize publicly for your disrespectful and racist behavior." Stunned silence filled the dojo. Tyler burst into mocking laughter. "Apologize? Are you serious? Fine, I accept. Though of course I won't lose." That evening, alone by her window, Rebecca confronted memories she'd buried for years. She thought about the name, Silent Storm, the moniker that once sent shockwaves through the MMA world when she was Rebecca Storm Williams, three-time MMA world champion. She'd been famous for her calm, cold, ruthlessly precise fighting style. Opponents admitted the air seemed to freeze when she entered the ring. But she'd walked away from it all after a tragedy. Her younger brother Marcus died in a car accident on his way to her championship fight. Unable to bear the painful memories, she'd retired, changed her surname to Johnson, and started over as an ordinary single mother. Now Tyler had awakened the part of her she'd long avoided. She opened her bottom drawer and lifted out her old championship belt, fingers tracing the scratches from brutal battles years ago. "Marcus, I'm sorry I ran away for so long," she whispered. "But this time, I won't back down. I'll fight for you, for Maya, for justice." The next afternoon, the dojo was packed. Students and parents stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes brimming with curiosity as Rebecca stepped onto the mat in her usual loose t-shirt and sweatpants. Tyler strode to the center, confidence radiating from every gesture. "Welcome to this special match. I'll show you the clear difference between a professional and someone with zero training." He turned to Rebecca with a smug grin. "Are you ready, or do you need a last-minute change of heart?" Rebecca nodded calmly, saying nothing. Tyler launched into a series of high, showy kicks, each stopping inches from Rebecca's body. Applause rose from white students and parents as pitying glances were cast at Rebecca. But Rebecca remained unmoved, taking minimal steps to avoid every strike with absolute precision. Her calm visibly frustrated Tyler. His grin faded, replaced by irritation. "Aren't you going to fight back?" he snapped, delivering a sharper kick. Rebecca's voice rang out calm but defiant. "I thought this was supposed to be a professional's demonstration. I'm just waiting for you to show me everything you've got." Gasps filled the room. Anger flared in Tyler's eyes. He couldn't believe this woman dared to taunt him. "If you're that confident, maybe I don't need to hold back anymore," he growled, unleashing faster, harder strikes. Rebecca flowed through every attack, evading with graceful precision. The crowd began to sense something unusual. These weren't lucky dodges. Each evasion was executed with astonishing accuracy. Tyler grew enraged, his breathing ragged. He couldn't understand how this ordinary woman remained so composed against his every blow. His fury made his technique sloppy. "What game are you playing?" Tyler snarled. "Are you afraid to face me?" Rebecca offered no reply, simply fixing him with a steely stare, the same look that once froze the world's top MMA fighters. It was the gaze of silent storm, returned at last. The crowd's mood transformed. No longer mocking, they watched with amazement and growing respect. Even Tyler's supporters fell silent. Finally, sensing Tyler had reached his breaking point, Rebecca knew the decisive moment had come. Tyler charged with his signature spinning kick, delivered with desperate fury. Rebecca moved. For the first time, she launched a counter, though not a fierce strike. She simply leaned aside and extended her hand to gently touch his incoming leg. The swift, feather-light gesture instantly shattered Tyler's balance. He stumbled, spun awkwardly, and crashed hard onto the mat. Stunned silence blanketed the dojo. Tyler lay motionless, eyes wide with horror. He couldn't comprehend what had happened. The students and parents stared in astonishment, as if witnessing a miracle. Rebecca approached calmly. "Tyler, I hope you now understand that true strength isn't about flashy technique or arrogance. True strength lies in humility, respect for others, and mastery of oneself." Gentle applause began, swelling into a triumphant roar that filled the dojo. Maya stood with tears of pride streaming down her face. "Mom, you are Silent Storm. Rebecca Johnson, 3-time MMA World Champion." Every eye snapped to Maya in incredulous astonishment. People hurriedly pulled out phones, searching online. Within seconds, gasps filled the dojo as old articles and fight videos appeared. There was Rebecca, hoisting her championship belt, her icy commanding gaze unmistakable. The skeptical, condescending looks transformed into deep respect and awe. Tyler stood frozen, head bowed. Finally, he stepped forward, his voice trembling. "I want to say I am truly sorry, Miss Johnson. I was wrong. I let pride and prejudice blind me. I never realized how deeply my actions could wound others." His voice thick with emotion, he continued. "Today I learned the greatest lesson. I used to think martial arts was about defeating others, but I was completely mistaken. I'm sorry for not respecting you and so many students because of my foolish biases." Rebecca regarded him with calm compassion. "I accept your apology, Tyler. What matters most is recognizing our mistakes and having the courage to correct them." Turning to the entire dojo, she said clearly, "True martial arts fosters respect, humility, and inner strength. We train not to prove who is powerful, but to learn self-control and preserve dignity. Most importantly, remember that no one has the right to judge another based on appearance, skin color, or background. Every person deserves respect and fair treatment." Her powerful message resonated through the dojo, touching every heart. From that day forward, a wave of positive change rippled through the academy. Tyler completely transformed his teaching approach, no longer judging students by appearance but helping each person develop their full potential. Rebecca became a living symbol of inspiration. The academy grew renowned not just for martial arts excellence, but as a place that truly nurtures humility, mutual respect, and the worth of every individual. As Rebecca and Maya walked out together that evening, Rebecca paused and looked back. "What are you thinking about, Mom?" Maya asked. I'm thinking that true strength isn't about showing off. It lives in our hearts and in how we treat each other. Always remember that, sweetheart. Maya nodded, her voice full of emotion. I promise I'll always remember, Mom. Together they stepped into the soft glow of the setting sun, each step infused with confidence and pride, ready to share their message of equality and courage with everyone they encountered. In the weeks that followed, the transformation at Master Kim's academy was remarkable. Tyler Griffin, once known for his harsh criticism and clear favoritism, became a completely different instructor. He arrived early each day, not to intimidate students, but to prepare thoughtful lesson plans that honored each person's unique journey. One afternoon, Rebecca returned to the dojo to watch Maya's class. As she entered, she noticed Tyler working patiently with Jackson, the young boy he'd once humiliated publicly. "Good, Jackson, your stance is much stronger now," Tyler encouraged, his voice warm with genuine praise. "Remember, improvement isn't about being perfect, it's about being better than you were yesterday." Jackson's face lit up with a smile that reached his eyes. His mother Marissa, watching from the sidelines, wiped away tears of gratitude. Tyler had also instituted new policies. He created a student council that included voices from every background, ensuring that concerns about fairness could be raised without fear. He personally apologized to every student and family he'd treated poorly, not with empty words, but with concrete commitments to change. "I'm organizing a community seminar on unconscious bias," Tyler told Rebecca one evening after class. "I want other instructors to learn from my mistakes. Would you be willing to speak?" Rebecca considered his request carefully. "I will, but on one condition: we include the students' voices too. They're the ones who experienced the harm. Their stories matter most." Tyler nodded emphatically. "You're absolutely right. Thank you for keeping me accountable." The seminar drew over 200 people from martial arts schools across the region. Tyler stood before them and shared his story with unflinching honesty. "I spent years believing my technical skill made me superior," he admitted, his voice steady despite the difficulty. "But I was using martial arts to feed my ego and reinforce my prejudices. The truth is, I was weak. Weak in character, weak in empathy, weak in the qualities that actually matter." He paused, looking directly at the audience. "A woman I underestimated, a woman I mocked, taught me that real mastery has nothing to do with defeating others. It's about defeating the worst parts of ourselves." When Tyler finished, Rebecca took the stage. But she didn't speak first. She invited Maya, Jackson, and 3 other students to join her. "These young people are the reason I broke my silence," Rebecca began. "I walked away from fighting years ago because I lost someone I loved. I thought hiding from my past would protect me from pain. But watching these children endure discrimination day after day, I realized that silence in the face of injustice is its own kind of betrayal." Maya stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "My mom taught me that standing up doesn't always mean fighting back with fists. Sometimes it means having the courage to be yourself when others try to make you feel small. Sometimes it means refusing to accept disrespect as normal." Jackson spoke next, his words halting at first but gaining strength. "I used to hate coming to practice. Every correction felt like an insult. Every mistake felt like proof I didn't belong. But now I understand that I always belonged. The problem was never with me, it was with how I was being treated." The audience sat in profound silence, many wiping away tears. Several instructors approached Rebecca and Tyler afterward, asking for guidance on examining their own teaching practices. One older master, who'd been teaching for 30 years, confessed, "I never thought I was biased. I convinced myself I treated everyone the same. But listening to these students, I recognize patterns in my own dojo that I've been blind to. Thank you for opening my eyes." Back at the academy, Rebecca began offering special workshops on Saturdays, not on fighting techniques, but on the philosophy behind martial arts. Students learned about the historical roots of respect, discipline, and honor that underpinned every tradition. "In my championship days, people called me Silent Storm," Rebecca shared during one workshop. "They thought it was because I was quiet and explosive. But the real storm wasn't my fighting. It was my struggle with grief, identity, and purpose after I lost my brother." She showed the students a photo of Marcus, his bright smile radiating from the faded picture. "He believed martial arts could bring people together, could teach us to protect the vulnerable instead of exploiting them. I abandoned that belief when I lost him. But all of you, your courage, your resilience, you've helped me find it again." The students listened with rapt attention, understanding that Rebecca wasn't just a champion, she was someone who'd survived profound loss and found her way back to purpose. Maya thrived in this new environment. Her skills improved dramatically, but more importantly, her confidence blossomed. She started a peer mentoring program, pairing senior students with newcomers to ensure everyone felt welcomed and supported. "My mom always says that what we overcome becomes our strength," Maya told a nervous new student during their first session. "You belong here just as much as anyone else. Don't let anyone make you doubt that." The transformation extended beyond the dojo walls. Parents who'd once been passive observers became active participants in their children's education. They formed a diversity committee that organized cultural celebration events, where families shared traditions, foods, and stories from their heritage. Marissa, Jackson's mother, spearheaded a scholarship fund for students from low-income families. "No child should miss out on learning discipline and confidence because their family can't afford tuition," she declared at the fundraiser launch. The fund raised over $50,000 in its first year, allowing dozens of children to train who otherwise couldn't have afforded it. Tyler contributed too, offering free classes to underserved communities and partnering with schools in predominantly minority neighborhoods. "I spent years gatekeeping martial arts, acting like only certain people deserved access to what I knew," he reflected. "Now I understand that knowledge hoarded is knowledge wasted. Real mastery means lifting others up." One evening, 6 months after the match, Rebecca and Tyler stood together on the mat after everyone had left. The dojo was quiet, lit only by the soft glow of the setting sun through the windows. "I need to thank you again," Tyler said quietly. "That match, losing to you, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You could have humiliated me completely, but instead you gave me a path to redemption." Rebecca shook her head. "I didn't give you anything, Tyler. You chose to take responsibility. You chose to change. That took courage. Maybe more courage than winning any fight." Tyler smiled, a genuine warmth replacing his old arrogance. "My students trust me now in a way they never did before. Not because they fear me, but because they know I see them, really see them, as individuals with unique worth." "That's the foundation of real teaching," Rebecca replied. "Fear might create obedience, but only respect creates growth." As they walked toward the exit together, Tyler paused. "Would you consider teaching here permanently? Not just workshops, but regular classes? These students need a role model like you." Rebecca considered the offer. She thought about Marcus, about the dreams they'd shared for using martial arts as a force for good. She thought about Maya and Jackson and all the other students who deserved to train in an environment built on dignity. "Yes," she said finally. "But not as Silent Storm, the champion. Just as Rebecca, someone who believes every person who walks through these doors deserves to discover their own strength." Tyler extended his hand, and Rebecca shook it firmly. In that moment, they weren't former rivals, they were partners committed to the same mission. The following month, the Academy hosted its first promotion ceremony under the new philosophy. Students of all backgrounds stood in neat rows, their families beaming with pride. Tyler addressed the gathering with words that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. "Today we celebrate not just technical achievement, but growth in character. These students have earned their new belts through discipline, yes, but also through kindness, perseverance, and respect for one another." He called each student forward individually, sharing specific examples of how they'd embodied the Academy's values. When Jackson's name was called, Tyler's voice caught with emotion. "Jackson, you've shown remarkable resilience. Despite facing unfair treatment I'm ashamed to say came from me, you never gave up on yourself or this art. Your forgiveness has taught me more than any master ever could." Jackson bowed deeply, then surprised everyone by speaking. "Thank you, Sensei Tyler, for becoming the teacher I needed. And thank you, Miss Rebecca, for showing all of us what real strength looks like." The applause was thunderous. Parents who'd once been divided now stood united in their pride and hope for their children. When Maya received her green belt, Rebecca's heart swelled. Her daughter had worked so hard, not just in technique but in using her voice to make the dojo better for everyone. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart," Rebecca whispered as she fastened the new belt around Maya's waist. I learned from the best, Maya replied, tears glistening in her eyes. As the ceremony concluded, Rebecca looked around at the transformed community. Students of different races practiced together, helped each other, celebrated each other's victories. Parents who'd once barely spoken now chatted like old friends. This was Marcus's dream realized. Martial arts is a bridge between people, not a wall dividing them. That night, Rebecca sat alone in her room, holding Marcus's photo. We did it, she whispered. We're building the kind of place you always believed in. I wish you could see it. In the silence that followed, she felt a profound peace. The pain of losing Marcus would never disappear, but she'd finally transformed it into something meaningful, a legacy of justice, equality, and the unwavering belief that every person deserves respect. The story of Silent Storm's return spread far beyond the academy. News outlets picked up the tale, and Rebecca found herself invited to speak at conferences, schools, and community centers across the country. But she never forgot where the real work happened, in the daily interactions at the dojo, in the moments when a struggling student needed encouragement, in the conversations that challenged people to examine their biases. Change doesn't happen in grand gestures, Rebecca often told audiences. It happens in the choice we make every single day to treat people with dignity, to question our assumptions, and to stand up when we witness injustice, even when it's uncomfortable. Maya stood beside her mother at these events, her own voice growing stronger. She'd discovered her calling too, using her platform as Rebecca's daughter to advocate for young people facing discrimination in sports and education. Together, mother and daughter became a powerful team, proof that courage and conviction could be passed down and multiplied across generations. Tyler also accepted speaking invitations, always sharing his story with humility. I was the problem, he'd state clearly. And I want other instructors, other people in positions of power, to have the courage to ask themselves, am I the problem too? Because until we're willing to face that question honestly, nothing changes. His candor resonated, particularly with those who saw themselves in his journey. Many reached out privately, seeking guidance on how to address their own blind spots and repair harm they'd caused. The academy continued to flourish. Within 2 years, it had doubled in size, but more importantly, it had become a model for how martial arts schools could actively promote equity and inclusion. Students who graduated from the program carried its values with them, transforming their own communities. Some became instructors themselves, committed to teaching with the same integrity they'd experienced. One evening, as Rebecca locked up the dojo, she paused at the entrance where her journey had truly begun, where Tyler had issued his mocking challenge months ago. So much had changed. She'd reclaimed her identity, not as Silent Storm the champion, but as Rebecca Johnson the advocate. She'd found purpose in her pain and strength in her vulnerability. Most importantly, she'd learned that real victory isn't measured in belts or titles, but in lives transformed, barriers broken, and communities healed. As she walked into the night, the dojo's lights dimming behind her, Rebecca smiled. The storm had passed through, leaving not destruction but renewal in its wake. And tomorrow, the work would continue, one student, one conversation, one stand for justice at a time.